season. Actually, this is season two, episode three. Pretty much we in the off season, but I have a very special guest, somebody that has been on this show before and in previous seasons. You might recognize his face, his voice, Mr. Alex Dono from Locked On Canes. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm so glad to be back on your channel. And you're not going to be able to stay off season for too much longer. Miami's fall camp is starting on August 1st. NFL training camps are getting underway. You mentioned to me off air you're going to be checking out some Commanders camps. So we're almost back. Football is almost back.
Yep. So before we get started, we always got to do that Miami Hurricanes intro.
Let's give it up to the youth. Loyal to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins that orange and the green running through and through. Cause you know we want it. These squad versus ours, now they don't really want it. Our pedigree's deep with pros in abundance. Get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming. Let's give it up to the youth. Loyal to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins that orange and the green running through and through. Cause you know we want it. These squad versus ours, now they don't really want it. Our pedigree's deep with pros in abundance. Get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming.
All right, we back. So Alex, I read today that Tyler Van Dyke he shared his thoughts and everything about the new system with Shannon Dawson and everything like that. And he said he loves the new system. Can you give me a little bit more insight about what benefits for Tyler Van Dyke in the new system would help him this season than it did last year under Josh Gattis?
Yeah, the biggest thing that Tyler Van Dyke has said a couple times, including today, about this new offense is it gives him a lot more freedom than the one he played in last year when it comes to changing plays, checking plays, switching from pass to run plays, run to pass. I think that that's something he enjoys. And I think that, when he started back in spring to get a sense of the new playbook, I think it excited him and he learned it very quickly. And his installation was pretty fast because we talked with Shannon Dawson about it a couple months ago, and he seemed pretty impressed with how quickly Tyler adapted to the new offense. And there's also going to be an emphasis on this offense anytime you're talking about air raid passing principles to really distribute the football to a number of different playmakers. And I think that's something else that Van Dyke is excited for. Playmakers finding space is a really big emphasis in this sort of an offense. So when you think about having new weapons for Tyler, like another Tyler Harrell, who's a fast wide receiver, really fast, runs a 4.2, who just transferred in from Alabama. Shamar Kirk is a junior college transfer that I think is a really complete wide receiver, and I think he can do really well, stepping up from JUCO into the Power Five. And then when you're bringing back guys like Colby Young and Jacoby George and Xavier Restrepo, I think Van Dyke is looking forward to being able to kind of distribute the footballs around, and hopefully he can give everybody some love and give everybody some passes.
I agree because I'm a Tyler Van Dyke fanatic. I love Tyler Van Dyke. Last year I wanted him to be in the Heisman conversation, and that didn't happen. And hopefully that even if he don't be in the Heisman conversation this year, I want him to at least go out and be like at least a first round pick in the NFL draft. Put up some nice numbers and show what he was the promise what he was when Manny Diaz was here and he took over for Derek King, and he went on that winning streak a little bit and put up the numbers. So I want him to be able to just listening to him, he sounds so excited, and I think he wants to get out there this season and show what he's really made of.
Well, and he brought up recent history for Shannon Dawson. Miami's new offensive coordinator was at Houston for the last few years, including last season. And last year, Houston had a 4,000 plus yard passer in Clayton Tune. So, Van Dyke sees, hey, the guy who ran this offense last year had a lot of success. Maybe I can have some success like that.
I agree. I think it's still one thing that's darning to me is even though we getting the wide receivers and I love the commitment from JoJo Trader, I still looking for that tight end, and I haven't paid or looked deep into the roster enough to figure out who will be that guy that's going to step up for step up in Will Mallory's spot. So, do you think we still could pull a tight end in recruiting, or there's somebody on the roster that I probably haven't looked at that could take that next leap?
I think they're in good shape at tight end. It's just I for part of what you're saying about Mallory, I agree, and I've said it before on Locked On Canes. He had proven production the last couple of years, and he was Miami's leading receiver last year. He's on to the NFL. So I think there's a ton of potential in the tight end room. It's just about somebody or multiple somebodies, stepping up and showing that they can do it at the college level. I'm really bullish on Elijah Arroyo, who's I think he's going to be the starting tight end this coming season. We only saw like a cameo of him first game or two last year because he injured his knee. Arroyo is fully healthy, and I think he's got an even higher ceiling than Will Mallory. I don't think Mallory would mind me saying that. He'd probably say it himself. He's just got to reach that ceiling because Arroyo is very explosive, and he's a good receiver and blocker. There's Jaleel Skinner heading into his second year.
Oh, yeah.
He's a little bit more of a jumbo receiver. He's not like as polished of an inline blocker as Arroyo is, but Skinner, I think, is just a weapon if you can get him in space. And a guy that I'm really excited about, who hasn't proven anything at the college level yet, but he was a 4-star recruit, is Riley Williams, who is he's going to be a true freshman this year. He looked pretty good during spring practices. I want to watch him again at fall camp. And I like Miami's got a tight end committed in the class of 2024. I think they'd like to get a second one just because they love tight ends, but they've got a good 4-star committed in Elijah Lofton. He goes to the same high school that Brevin Jordan went to, Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. And a lot of people out there in Vegas, because they watched Brevin there a few years ago, and now they're watching Lofton. They kind of call him like I don't know if what the exact nickname is, like Baby Brevin or Brevin 2.0 or something. So hopefully he can bring that to Miami. And so I think there's a lot of potential in the tight end room. It's just all about somebody stepping up, right? Because Will Mallory was Miami's best receiver last year, period, playing from the tight end position. So we've got to see some other guys try to fill those big shoes of his.
I agree. I definitely agree. I forgot about Arroyo and Skinner, because they kind of they look like wide receivers more than tight ends. So I didn't really put them in that tight end, but now that you cleared it up a little bit for me, it was like, okay, yeah. And Skinner is he's tall. He's really tall.
Yeah, he's got to be around 6'6", I think.
Yeah,
something like that.
He reminds me of the tight end that Georgia had, not Brock Bowers, but the other guy.
Yeah.
The very freakish.
Why is his name escaping me?
I think it's George or something like that. I can't remember, but I saw him around the draft time, and I thought he was going to get picked somewhere around there because he's raw, but he's like a freakish athlete type of guy. So
it's Darnell Washington.
That's him.
Yeah.
Yep, Darnell Washington. Yeah, and I was like, that's who Skinner reminds me so much. He reminds me of him because of that big body, that freakish type guy. So, and then depends on how Shannon Dawson uses offense and what he does. I mean, he got weapons there, so therefore there's nothing. And I don't even want to touch on the running back room because I love the running back room. The running back room in this class is crazy. I just want to see them explode. That it's just I want to see Miami do something different from the years that when we used to see them winning national championships, even in the 2000s and up to now. I want to see them be like a completely explosive offense where you have to count for everybody. You can't count for everybody at the same time.
No, that's such a good point. And I think that they And you don't have to look very far to see how speed kills, right? Because, the Hurricanes are about, they practice about 15, 20 miles away from where the Miami Dolphins practice. And the
Yeah.
Dolphins added all that speed last year. And I think Mario Cristobal watched that team up the road. He's like, hey, we could use a little more speed. So
Yeah.
I already mentioned, Tyler Harrell, the transfer receiver who runs a 4.2, which is just insane. Chris Johnson, who's one of the incoming freshman running backs,
Yeah.
he's a track star. He's like setting state records in the 100-meter dash. So he's super fast. 2024, they've got a verbal commit from Chris Wheatley Humphrey, who's another running back who's a track star. So yeah, they're trying to put that same kind of speed all over the place, because you're 1,000% right. I mean, back when the Miami Hurricanes were dominant, like, you could always count on certain things. Like, they always had these insane defensive lines, which they're trying to get back to that. And then they always just had speed everywhere on offense. So you had just receivers and running backs who were just outrunning people into the end zone. You got to get back to that, because they weren't fast last year, not fast enough.
I agree. I definitely agree. And speaking of Chris Johnson Jr., I mean, we all know about his dad when he was in the NFL. It's like he was such a gifted running back. I don't know what it is about running backs going to Tennessee, and they have these great years and then all of a sudden they fade off. But I was in love with Chris Johnson. I mean, I had him on my fantasy football because he was just that fast. He is like Tyreek Hill now is like how Chris Johnson was back then. You just get that one athlete that just really is a barn burner. That's nothing but speed all across the board. So I want to touch on recruiting, because I said this before on my show, is that I think the 2024 class is going to be just as special as this 23 class. And it's just the way it's shaping up and who we getting and everything like that. I love this 23 class because I love how Mario was able to build from the trenches out. That was something that we needed definitely, especially from the offense and the defensive line. And then he kind of like, it's like a flower. It just, grows and then blooms out, into something special. And I'm glad that he really started addressing the defensive line and the offensive line, from last year going into now for the next season also.
Yeah, and I think a couple of areas where Miami has an opportunity to shine this year more than last year. Last year's class, well, I say last year, but it's really this year, right? Class of 2023 versus 2024, because we're in the 2024 recruiting cycle now. But in the class of 2023, the foundation of that class was really the offensive line, right? That's where you had 2 5-star players in Maui Goa and Okunlola. And then for the class of 2024, I think they want the foundations to be defensive line, especially defensive tackle, where they didn't get enough last year, and wide receiver, right? Because they got a couple of awesome slot receivers in the class of 2023, but they didn't get enough on the boundary outside receivers. Where this year, or 2024, they already have 4-star Chance Robinson committed, 5-star JoJo Trader committed, and I think Miami's going to try to get one more 4 or 5-star receiver in this class. And then on the defensive line, they've already landed a few really strong commitments on the D line. Dalen Russell is a 3-star who could rise to a 4-star. Artavius Jones is a 4-star who's borderline 5-star, and the same thing about what's on Lightfoot, Marquise Lightfoot. I don't know why his name escaped me for a second. Marquise Lightfoot at defensive end is a borderline 5-star, high ranked 4-star guy. And Miami's trying to land 5-star offensive tackles as well to go along with that. They're in the mix for Kamari and Franklin. They're in the mix for Aiden Breland, who are 5-stars. So they really want the foundation this year to come from the defensive line and from the wide receivers, which were areas they got some really good edge rushers last year, but not enough interior guys and not enough boundary wide receivers. So it's still, there's a long way to go still. I mean, they've got a top 15 class right now, which is obviously good, but they want to be in the top 10 again, like they were last year. So there's a lot of battles still going on out there.
Yeah, I see a lot of I guess like the Ohio States, the Florida States, and Clemson. Miami's right there battling them. Even though Ohio State beat us out a couple of recruits, I'm always gonna be sore about Ohio State from 2002. I'm never going to let that go by. And then I think that Miami. I think now that as I've been watching and seeing how they Mario's been recruiting, and especially like some of these guys from the Florida area down there that commits to Miami, they have friends that's there also that they trying to pull with them. So it's almost like you could get a 2 for 1, you
Yeah.
know. So
It's true. It's very true. A lot of these are. I say it all the time. Sometimes your best recruiters are the recruits themselves. Who and another thing about when you got verbal commits, like they can go crazy recruiting guys because there's no like tampering or anything with them. So it's like it's crazy. Like some of I know Chance Robinson, really helped Miami get a verbal commitment from JoJo Trader.
mhm.
Miami's quarterback commit, Judd Anderson, is like he doesn't sleep. That dude, he's just recruiting other players all the time. So I love the
Right.
energy they put into it.
All right, right. I mean, and it's just I'm just excited just to see how Miami's just flying under the radar because nobody's really giving them a shot. Everybody thinks hey, we was 5-7 last year. They was like, oh well, y'all not gonna win no more than 5 games again this year. Y'all not gonna beat these teams. But I say this, because I say it with my Commanders also. Miami is building something special, and I'd rather we do how well we do this year is going to carry over to the next year. And I just think the ACC might don't want to sleep on Miami. I think they're going to have to pay more attention to us than they ever have because there's the dynamic there that's going to shift eventually, because I look at Clemson, they still Clemson, but they not as Clemson dominant as they was a few years. Now, Florida State is on the rise. That's going to be competition, especially when it comes down to recruiting in the state of Florida. So, but I can see that them battles between Florida State and Miami is going to be more intense than ever before. So and then you got North Carolina there, which, all the hype is around Drake May. You know, I guess you could say rightfully so, but I still think Miami is that sleeper, that team that everybody's like, okay, they're gonna be the same Miami year in and year out. But I just think this year is going to be a shocker to a lot of teams.
They've just got to show Miami has got to show that they can play together and work together. I think that's the
Hmm.
biggest thing because like I can look at most every position group. I think looks better than it looked last year. Maybe defensive tackle not as much because Daryl Jackson, who transferred to Florida State, was a big loss. But they did
Yeah.
bring in they did bring in some options to replace him. You just got to see how it works out with guys like Branson Dean and Thomas Gore. And they've got basically the same personnel at quarterback, but I'm expecting Tyler Van Dyke to be better in the new offense, and I'm expecting Jakari Brown to be better
Yeah.
as a backup because he was a true freshman last year. I wish Jake Garcia the best, but I don't think losing him is going to be the biggest loss in the world. And then at
Yeah.
most every other spot, like Miami looks like they got better, but you got so many new players. So they've got to show
Hmm.
that they can play together and work together. You have so many new coaches. Like more
Hmm.
than half the assistant coaches are different from what they were last year. So I like the changes they made, but they have to show that they can work together. So I think it's always kind of a scary thing when you have that much turnover from one year to the next. Even if I can look at it and say, I think that the turnover was for the good. Like I think the coaches they replaced and the players that were replaced, I think you're replacing them with better options. But when
Hmm.
you've got so many new pieces, they've got to show that they can work together. So that's going to be something we're really going to find out week 2 against Texas A&M. Like that's when you're going to get an idea. Okay, these guys are meshing together and they
Yeah,
can make this thing work. We're not going to know much before that.
I agree. I totally agree with you because that last year we even though we our offense struggle against Texas A&M, a game that we should have had. I really want to see what they do against Texas A&M because it's the second game of the season, and if Miami could somehow win that game, and say if they did it in a dominant fashion, then that sets the tone from week to week, especially when you get down later to the season. When you have to you get in the meat of the schedule when you got to play Clemson, Florida State, and North Carolina, because they are going to be them games going to be right almost back to back with each other. So if you come out the gate early and dominate or play consistent and showing that you better than last year, then once it get late in the season, because you got to look at what the other teams may be doing, and if you all you got to do is get hot. If you get hot, then it puts a lot of pressure on teams that are going to come into the play and be like, okay, how do we attack this team? They different from years ago. They're not the same team. But if Miami comes out and starts struggling like they did last year in the beginning, then it's going to send shockwave of like what's really going on, in the University of Miami. They made all these changes. There's going to be a bunch of questions. Fans going to be trying to call for Mario Head. You getting paid all this money. They did it last year, and he was on it there. And, his hand was kind of like tied because he kind of put a makeshift staff together because he really didn't have time to put a staff together the way he wanted to. So I just think that fans got to be patient, but I understand, we want to get back so quickly, but it's all in timing. This is a process, and Mario has a process that he's going by. And I don't think nobody's going to budge or move him off of that process but himself.
Yeah, that's really well said. And, the man is heading into the second year of a 10-year contract. So I don't think you give somebody a 10-year deal if you think it's a 1-year fix, right? Like if they thought, oh, he's going to turn him into a national championship contender just 1 year, I don't think either side is agreeing to a 10-year contract. So I think, like you said so well, people need to understand that it's a process. Now, with that said, I'm not saying, hey, if they're 5-7 again, that's fine. You're not saying that either. I know you've got to show improvement. Yeah, right. I know you're not saying. So they've obviously got to show improvement from last year to this year, but I'm not expecting them to go from 5 wins to 11 wins, right? From 1 year. It's just not going to happen.
Well, speaking of wins and losses, what is your prediction for this season for them in the win and loss column?
So I'm not making it official until the week of the first game, but I'm gonna be right around 8 wins. I think that's kind of what I'm looking at. And I say that knowing the schedule's not easy. You mentioned some of the tough games they've got to play. Even at home, Texas A&M, they're very talented, and they made coaching changes of their own, including bringing in Bobby Petrino to be their new offensive coordinator. And they've got that's a good team, right? So Texas A&M, even at home, it's going to be a tough game. You've got Florida State on the road, Clemson at home, North Carolina on the road, NC State. I know Louisville's not been that great of a team in recent years, but they're super talented. I like their new coach, Jeff Brom. So that's not going to. So you're looking at least 6, if not more than 6 games that are not going to be easy. They're not going to be easy. You're going to win some of these games. You're going to lose some of these games.
Yeah.
So I see them improving from 5 wins to probably around 8 wins this year. And I also, the big thing that I'm going to look at is, because they're going to lose some games. There's no question.
Yeah.
Are you going to be more competitive in the games that you lost, right? Because, we remember them getting somehow given up, 45 points to Middle Tennessee, getting blown out by Florida State, getting beaten up pretty badly by Clemson. I saw a stat today that I'd forgotten about, but, Miami, not only did they lose 4 out of their final 5 games last year, they lost all 4 of those 5 games that they lost. They were lost by at least 26 points. So they weren't competitive. So you've got to win a few more games than you won last year, but you also have to be more competitive in the games that you lose. Those are the big things I want to see this year.
Exactly. And I think that what the North Carolina game was, when Drake May, I mean, I don't think he as fast as Sam Howell. Sam Howell has wheels.
Yeah.
I think Drake May is kind of like he's that quarterback that he's going to make you think he can't run, but then he hits you with the running game. It's almost like Patrick Mahomes a little bit. You don't expect Patrick Mahomes to run because he passes a lot, but then when he hits you with it, it's like, okay, where all of this is coming from. And I think last year we kind of like underestimated North Carolina because of Drake May. He's such of a sneaky runner. So I think this year we have to, now that we know, and then what's the quarterback from Florida State?
Jordan Travis.
Jordan Travis. I mean, the dude is, he tore us up. I mean, passing and running. So I think mainly the main thing that Miami always had trouble with always been the running game, and the main thing I want to see, because even though when we played Clemson, we didn't allow them to run on us, but we couldn't do nothing offensively, so it kind of like started wearing down and opening up things. If we could really start playing sound defense and control the running game and force teams to pass a little bit, then it kind of like help out. So I'm looking to see what Lance Gentry's defense is going to look like this year.
I'm excited about him, Guidry. He's got a great reputation. His defenses are always confusing for quarterbacks, which is always a good thing. If you can confuse opposing quarterbacks, that's always your friend. And you saw, like, I think probably the best example of what Guidry is capable of doing. He had a Marshall defense last year, which is not as talented as Miami's defense, and they completely shut down Notre Dame last year, which was a good football team. So that was, if Miami could find some of that success on their schedule this year, and I know the defensive players that I've talked to are excited about Guidry, including, Cam Kinchins, who was Miami's best player last year. He's really excited about Guidry's D. So I can't wait to watch it.
That's good. That's good. Well, my prediction this year is for them, because I say we'll win. We'll make the bowl. We'll get 6 wins. But just like you, I did pick them to win 8, roughly 8 or 9 games. I said that I got some guys on my job. They're a bunch of Clemson and Ohio State fans, and they're rooting against me like, oh, y'all gonna win. Y'all ain't not gonna win but 6 games this year. I was like, well, hey, I'll take 6 wins if it gets us in the bowl game. So that's where I'm at. I'm on the fence along with you with the 8 wins and making it past the bowl. So what are the I know you pressed for time, so we're gonna probably get you in a few out of here in a few minutes. For training camp, they spring training camp right now. What are some of the things that I guess Mario is looking for this time around when they take the field?
I think a big thing is he's going to be looking at the work ethic. He wants a team full of dogs, and he wants a team full of guys who are going to, that are going to want to start practicing before the scheduled time, and they're going to want to hang out there after the final whistle and put in that work. I think that's the big thing. I think toughness is a big thing Mario's looking for. And, when I'm out there watching practices, I'm going to be looking at a lot of individual battles, whatever I could see. Like, we're pretty limited in what we're able to watch during practice, but I'm going to be looking for some of the new faces. Robert Stafford, who's a true freshman cornerback, is someone that I'm hearing glowing reviews for, that he's looked really good in all the offseason workouts. So I think he could end up being a stud. He's very young, obviously. I mentioned Tyler Harrell, the transfer receiver. I want to see if he looks as fast in person as he looks on TV, because the times I've watched him on TV, he looks great. And I want to look at some of these line of scrimmage guys. Got a little bit of a look at the true freshman offensive tackles in spring, but I want to watch them again in fall, because Cristobal mentioned that Francis Maui Noah true freshman offensive tackle, is up to 342 pounds, and he's got like
Wow.
virtually no body fat, which is crazy. So I'm
Ooh.
I'm looking forward to watching him. So I'm going to
All
be out
str-
there. I'm going to be out there with my binoculars, trying to see as many of these guys as I can.
Well, well, I know you have a cover, so I definitely would, definitely check in. Um, Probably next year I'll probably try to come down to Miami's
You
training
should.
camp, and
Yeah.
so I'm gonna trade off a little bit, but I am definitely looking into going to that Texas A&M game. So that's I wanted to go last year when it was in College Station, but I'm working on being down there this time around because I want to get a full look of Miami, the new look Hurricanes and everything like that against Texas A&M. So I'm definitely trying to at least get to a few games this year.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. And yeah, you're probably better off going to this year's because I haven't been out to College Station. I don't usually go to road games, but I've heard it's not easy to get there. Like you got to take like multiple flights and like buses to get to college prep. A lot easier to catch like a direct flight down to Miami. So you made the right choice.
Oh yeah, well good. I'm glad I know that now, so I didn't waste no
Yeah.
time
Yeah,
trying to
because
go
the
last
people I
year.
know, like I know some people who cover all the road games. They're like, yeah, I got to catch this flight and this connection. Then I've got to like drive an hour and a half. I'm like, oh man, that sounds like a nightmare just to get out to College Station.
Yeah. So, I just read yesterday that Louisville and Miami is going to play every year now for
Yeah,
the Stein
Schnellenberger.
Snellenberger. Yeah, I'm about to say Steinbrenner. Snellenberger's boots. So that's gonna be pretty fun. I'm looking for that series. That's gonna be pretty fun and pretty exciting.
Yeah, and it's not only like the Howard Schnellenberger connection is a big one because he built Miami's football program and he did a great job when he coached at Louisville as well. But also like Miami against Louisville every year, it's interesting because Louisville recruits South Florida kids a lot. So they
Hmm.
compete for a lot of the same players like out of high school that Miami recruits. So you're definitely going to have some like, because you say this about Miami versus Florida State all the time that so many of these guys played against each other and with each other in high school. There's a lot of that with Louisville too. A lot of these guys went to South Florida high schools and they're going to be competing with each other again. So I like that being a yearly matchup. I don't really care. Like the other two yearly matchups, Florida State, obviously that makes all the sense in the world. Boston
Yeah.
College, I don't really care about that being a yearly thing, but
Yeah.
Louisville, I'm down with that.
Yeah. Most definitely. I know we out of little time and everything because I did wanted to touch on your thoughts, but we could always do it in another future episode about the realignment thing and Miami chances going to the Big Ten. But we'll talk about that in another episode. Probably later in the year or whatever the case might be. But again, let everybody know where they can find you, Alex, and check you out.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on your show and talk some Hurricanes football. Yeah, check out my show, my daily Hurricanes podcast, Locked On Canes. Search Locked On Canes on any audio platform, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and on YouTube as well. Just search Locked On Canes, and yeah, we chat with you guys every single day, sometimes twice a day. Because there's always something going on. As you know, there's always something happening with Canes football. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, anytime, Alex. I know you're busy, and I really do appreciate you taking the time out and, coming on the show and chop it up with me and everything like that. I'm sure we'll be talking again later on through the season and everything once it start rolling pretty good. But until then, man, I'll be checking you out as always, and you're doing amazing work and just keep shooting for the stars. You're doing great, man.
Thank you so much for having me and have an awesome rest of your week.
Okay, you too. All right, Alex Dono for Locked On Canes. Check him out, guys. All right, we on the second half of Kings on the Daily, and I got in my regular guy, Donnie. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
I'm pretty good, pretty good.
Hey, excellent segment, by the way, with you and Dono, bro. Loved it.
Oh,
Loved it.
man, I love Donald, man. Him, and him and Christopher Stark, they always show me love anytime they come on the show. So I love chopping it up with them. I love when they taking time out. And this is like Alex's third time on the show. When he has time, he comes through for me. He always comes through. So and Chris wasn't able to come. I told him I'll probably get with him later on in the season because he's busy with training camp and stuff down there. So, but yeah, man, Alex, he's good. He put out content like it ain't nothing, man. So I try to catch his show as much as I can, especially when I feel like I'm missing something. So I can always turn to him, listen to what he do, and then I could go do my research and see what's going on. So yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to take this time to give everybody the plug, man. Please, if you are not subscribed to Locked On Canes, please subscribe. Dono has the latest, the latest and the greatest breaking news. So that guy is, one of my all-time favorites, man.
Oh yeah, for real.
Like I tip my hat to him. Love the guy, love his work. Shout out to Alex.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Definitely, he definitely is one of my favorites. I could say that. It's funny because like when I first started doing this, like Lockdown, because the Lockdown Network is all over the place. And when I saw on Lockdown Canes and I saw him doing the show, I was like, oh man. I was like, and then just his enthusiasm, his attitude, he's very friendly. He's not uptight. He's willing to work with and come on people's show, bring people on the show. So it's pretty good. So that's what I like about it.
I love it.
I ain't gonna lie to you, not. It was crazy because I reached out to Christopher Stark last year, and I he's from Inside the U, and I reached out for him, and he was like, "Yeah, sure." And the first time we was on the show together, he was awesome too. So it was like I said, man, two guys that like they really up there. That like took their time out, so it was really important to me. So that's why I always try to keep pushing out content because I know them guys probably see my work and everything. So I'll be wanting to continue to bring the best that I can. So, but I know you was listening to the show and everything. So what's your thoughts on some of the stuff that Donnie was not Donnie, but Alex was talking about?
I will just present my take as this, man. Like, there's an old cliche of selling wolf tickets or crying wolf, if you will. I really don't think Miami is crying wolf this year. I think the wolf is not only here, but the wolf will hunt. And what I mean by that is I watched Media Day today. Yeah. Intently. And what I saw with that Media Day, it almost, now listen to me closely now, because I don't want to get misquoted.
Okay.
It almost reminded me of the 2001 Canes. Just in the things that they said, what they're working on. Now it's not individual stats, it's team stats, it's togetherness. It's like, I don't want to win an individual award. I want to win a national championship. So now they are pushing this rock up the hill together.
Yeah. And that's the mindset that you and it's great that these guys coming in and having that mindset, saying, "Hey, I want to win a national championship." I'm not content on winning individual awards. You know what I'm saying? So, and that with that attitude, they'll be able to push each other, towards that goal, whether if it's this year or next year, at least that goal is in sight. Because like Alex said, the main thing is they got to stop working together. Once they stop building chemistry and working together, it is going to pay off on the field.
Exactly, but you want to see that in all 4 phases of the game. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by 4 phases, you got your offense, you got your defense, and you got your special teams. Now you have the it factor. And that's what made all of the Miami teams great, the it factor. Mm-hmm. Because if everybody does their job, and there's that one player, not to call anybody out individually, but I will call Cam Kinchens out. If he decides to jump a route and that coverage is jammed up, that's a pick and it's going the other way.
Yeah.
So you have to have that trust built up to where he can jump that route. You have to have it on offense to where your offensive lineman can say, hey, I see something here, and alert Tyler Van Dyke. And like, you know what? Let the linebacker come. I'll flatten him.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going to stuff who's ever in front of me. I'm pancaking him, and I'm taking him out. So that way, if TVD decides to pull it down and run, it's all about the it factor, or as they call it in college football, the X factor of being able to make decisions on the fly when everybody is disciplined, which we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And they believe in the scheme and the system. That's what made Alabama great and still great, and Georgia's great now because of it.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. So, and then though Tyler Van Dyke did this, but he named his top 5 Mount Rushmore Miami Hurricanes, and he named Michael Irvin, Ed Reed, Vinny Testaverde, Jim Kelly, and Ray Lewis. You think? I mean, that list is. I mean, that list is not bad.
Of course not. I mean, look, when we get to talking about Canes and you say a Mount Rushmore, is that really a wrong list? I mean, come on. I mean, you could name it defensively, you could name it offensively, you could break it down to position groups. Yeah. It's no wrong list. So the thing is like, you know what I really love about that list? What I love about that list, sir, is that he went back in time.
Yeah.
And he's holding himself to a standard that those guys, his predecessors, held themselves to. It's not good, it's great.
Yeah.
You don't want to be good. You want to be great. And that's with that list, hey, he named a whole bunch of greatness. I mean, I could ask you for your top 5. It will probably differ from mine. But at the same time, it's still what?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Because honestly, I mean, I love Ed Reed, but I probably would, me personally, I probably would take Vinny Testaverde off. I mean, it's hard because Sean Taylor has to be on there for me. Santana Moss will have to be on there for me.
Okay, well, give me your top 5. Let's go.
All right. So my top 5, definitely Michael Irvin. Well, not Michael Irvin because therefore I'll have to put Andre Johnson on there. I would have to put Sean Taylor on there. I would have to put Santana Moss on there. Golly, man, this is crazy because I'm looking at his list. They ain't no running backs on there, and you have to. Honestly, you're right. There ain't no right or wrong answer.
Exactly. So
there's no right or wrong answer because I love them all. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a big Ken Dorsey fan. You know what I'm saying? I love Ken Dorsey, but even though he got Vinny Testaverde, but I mean, you can't. How can you leave Bernie Kosar off?
They're one of the most intelligent quarterbacks
You know what I'm
of all
saying?
time with a very high IQ. I
Exactly.
know someone who played with him personally, and they seen him change plays in the huddle and get positive yards with Belichick. So, of course, I agree, but there's no right or wrong list, brother. I
Yeah,
mean, to me personally, I would just go defense. I would be like Cortez Kennedy, Jerome
Yep.
Brown.
Yep.
Those would be my first two. And
Yep.
don't get me started on the Blades and the Rolls.
Yeah, Blaze, Rose. I mean, you still got Jonathan Vilma out there.
Yeah, and Rohan Marley. I was like, bro,
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong list, man.
And to honestly, because me and you older, I think because Tyler Van Dyke, he's younger, so some of them guys kind of like resonate him, and he probably not knowing too much of the older guys, but some of the guys that names kind of stick with him, and it's understandable. But like we say, there's no right or wrong answer to this list at all. I mean, it's not.
No way.
But I like his list because everybody in their position is very intelligent.
Exactly, and that's the thing is like when it comes to Tyler Van Dyke, I listened to I read the comments after I watched the media day, and a lot of people were like, he's not well versed, he's not well spoken, but I was like, a smart quarterback never is. And the thing is like, if you think about it, if we go back in time just a little bit, not too far, Joe Montana was not going to give you a monologue.
Mm-hmm.
John Elway was not going to give you a monologue. Dan Marino was not going to give you a monologue. It was like, play, we executed, blah, blah, blah. They answer the questions and get out of there. And I was like, that's what you want. You don't want your quarterback to just be like this fountain of information and just keep spouting off at the mouth to figure out, like, you know what? If he talks that much, he's going to eventually tell something. So it's like, no, quarterbacks have to be guarded because even in the league, Kosar and Testaverde were both guarded. Mm-hmm. Well, I just took what the defense was giving, and left it at that. So, I mean, the thing is like, I like the way the young man spoke.
Yeah.
I was really impressed by that. And I really think he has a chip on his shoulder. And the only way he's going to get this chip off his shoulder is by performing well this year.
Oh, yeah. And that's something me and Alex was talking about that. I like I said, I'll tell people I love Tyler Van Dyke. I love him. Just not as much as I love Ken Dorsey. Not as much as I love Ken Dorsey, but I like Tyler Van Dyke because he has so much promise, and it sucks last year that the team was not as great that it was supposed to be. But I really think that this dude I think he's going to put up close to 4,000 yards this year. I think the weapons, the offense, and like me, Alex, when I was asking Alex earlier about the tight ends, I forgot about Arroyo and Skinner there. So, I mean, there's a chance that we could be averaging 30-something points a game.
Well, let me ask you this. Because, like, I know Phil General Dorsey is your favorite, but who would you compare TVD to? Because I have my comparison of him.
Of a typical of an NFL quarterback or a Miami quarterback?
A Miami quarterback. I'm talking about our own, from our own soil.
Our own. I honestly, he has a mixture of Bernie Kosar and Vinny Testaverde to me. He has a mixture of both of them to me. Jim Kelly, I don't know. I don't see Jim Kelly in him. I see Testaverde a little bit. I definitely see Kosar the way Tyler Van Dyke thinks. he has that thinking mentality, like a little bit like Kozar, not as great as Kozar, but he has that upside and that kind of like that posture like Vinny Testaverde had. You know what I'm saying? So I think if he has a similarity, it'd probably be them two for me.
And I can respect it. I can respect it. And again, it's no right or wrong answer because they're all right.
Oh man! Now, if you talk about NFL wise, then he definitely has that. He has that Josh Allen, and he has some of that Tom Brady ish to me, and because Tyler Van Dyke loves being in the pocket. He loves being in the pocket. He loves slinging that ball. And that's something that what made Tom Brady who he was before he started running out of the pocket. And Tyler Van Dyke, he could run out of the pocket, but he ain't that elusive. And that reminds me so much of Vinny Testaverde a little bit too, because Vinny didn't run out of the pocket, but when he ran, you be like, why is he running? But he got you the yardage that you needed. So that's where all of these similarities that Tyler Van Dyke has. He has a lot of similarities.
Of course. And like I said, there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's no right or wrong answer because they're all right. Now, me personally, I would have to combine him with two other quarterbacks from two different eras.
Okay.
As far as IQ, definitely Bernie Kosar, but just the natural will to win. You have to hit me with everything but the kitchen sink, Frank Costa. Tyler Van Dyke, I'm hurt. I don't care. We're winning this game. Yo, bro, your arm is about to fall out. We're winning, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what I see.
Definitely. Hey, like you said, there's no right or wrong answer. But now that they about to get into the second half of the season and get ready for the season, because the season is right around the corner. Like I told, I'm excited to see what they could do. I want to see what they could do to bringing it together. I know there's still more recruiting to be done. I know there's still more that they can add on to this team. I'm sure they will continue to add on. So, and I think, but I want to give Jason Taylor a shout out because he has came in and made an impact on recruiting and getting some of the guys that was much needed in this recruiting care. So shout out to Jason Taylor for doing his part right now.
Yes, sir. And I would like to give a shout out also to Kevin Beard.
Yep.
And Kevin Beard is making Miami like a destination for receivers. And like I said, I cannot take anything away from Jason Taylor. The only thing I hope, wish, and pray for is that we can keep this coaching staff together for at least 6 years.
Yeah.
Because I think the more we win, the more we will be poached. I just want to keep this staff together and let them develop the players that they brought in. To be honest with you, major shout out to Jason Taylor, and my shout out goes to Kevin Beard. Man, like all of our weaknesses have now been strengthened to like the utmost level. It's almost like a cheat code. We went from whatever we were to like 100. It's like, you put the cheat code in and you can go to 100. So it's like all of our weaknesses all over the ball, everywhere on the field have been strengthened to the utmost. And I just hope these guys can at least stay with us for 6 years and ride this wave because I see something great coming.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely see it coming. I do believe like I say, I think this year they'll get a bowl. They'll win probably by 8 games. And then I think next year they definitely gonna take off a little bit stronger, build on for what they do this year, and then continue to navigate, continue to build continuity and stuff like that. And I think the biggest thing is leadership. I think Mario and his coaching staff has came in and provide the much leadership that is needed to this Miami club, and getting these guys into recruiting and talking to them and showing them that, hey, that you could come here and be successful and win and be at the same time. So definitely another shout out to Mario and his coaching staff, because like I was talking to Alex earlier, and I was just telling him that at the end of the day, the main thing is winning, and if Miami start winning games, all that noise will stop. Teams will start looking at us, taking us seriously, and everything like that. So.
I mean, I definitely agree with you there. We have to win to get the attention. Now, even when we lose, we get attention because that's what they want. They want the negative attention. And I'm not saying they as in the Kane fan base, just the media. The media wants us to lose. But I think if Mario keeps approaching this the way he's approaching this and taking a working man's approach to this, and building this house from the foundation up, we will be okay. And the thing is moving forward, again, my only concern is, can we keep this coaching staff 6 seasons? That's my only concern.
Yeah.
Because once the wins start piling up, people are coming.
Oh yeah. People are gonna get fired, and they're gonna be looking at us, and and we could do, because you gotta think, as great as Nick Saban is, I mean, he lost some, and he replaced them, and they kept winning. So I mean, it's gonna be hard. I say, in 3 seasons, yeah. I said we probably keep them for 3 seasons, the minimum 3.5 seasons. 6 seasons is gonna be a stretch. It's gonna be a stretch.
Well, let me ask you this, just on that point you made. I am starting to hear something that I have not heard in Miami in a long, long, long time. The whole point of loyalty and buying in. Now, my question to you, after 3 seasons, when we start to win, do you think that loyalty will hold up? And look, I'm not mad if you leave. I'm not. Let's just throw it out there, okay? But I'm just saying, with that loyalty, it's something about Miami that, even like, for example, if, let's just say, Jason Taylor gets a defensive coordinator job or offered one, and Kevin Beard gets a offensive coordinator job, because those are the guys we gave a shutout to, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, it would take a lot to get those guys out of Miami.
Yeah.
And my question to you is, after 3 seasons and the wins start piling up, can we replace those guys?
It all depends on who's hot, who's out there, who's doing what they're doing at that time. And they probably want to come to a prestige college like Miami and build their resume too and add on, So that's the thing. And what if Mario do the same thing he did with Lance Gitry and Shannon Dawson, go down to them D1 schools and pull talent out from there to replace them guys, instead of looking for big name coaches to come in? Because you got to think, he tried that with Josh Gaddis and Kevin Steele, and it didn't work out because they didn't they left. You know what I'm saying? And Josh Gaddis wasn't that good. So by going down to Marshall and all of these schools to get to get talent to see what they're doing down there, bringing them up, then I think you could look at Miami as a farm system for smaller coaches. Mario groomed them up to where it is, continue to balance on the Canes out. The Canes still win, and you still, because you never know. You never know because not Shannon, Lynch Green or Shannon Dawson, they might have coordinators on their staff, right? Say they go to a college and they might want them coordinators, but then again, the coordinators might not say, well, hey, let me get your defensive coordinator job, or your offensive coordinator job with Miami and stay there and build my own. So there's a lot to be desired in them 3.5 years time. So a lot could happen. They could stay, or the guys that working under them could take their place, or Miami could go out and bring some more from the smaller schools. So there's a whole lot there that could happen.
And you're right. It's a lot that can happen, but the thing is like, I feel like once you have a philosophy in place, now when you become the Nick Sabans, the Kirby Smarts, the Bill Belichick's of coaching, your philosophy doesn't change. You just find coaches to fit your philosophy. So the thing is, the kids will buy in, and as long as you have a coach that can coach them up, that's one, and relate to the kids, that's two, and three, be able to put results on the field, yeah, we can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because who knows? At that point, we might have people from bigger schools like, hey, you know what? Hey, man, I've been at Ohio State XYZ years and we just ain't cutting it. I'm going to Miami. Okay, cool. As long as you fit those criteria, come on. Let's do it.
Exactly. I definitely agree. I agree. I feel like at the end of the day, Miami's they on the right track right now. They on the right track right now. So that's definitely where I love it. I like it, and all I can say is go Canes.
That's it. Because at this point, like just looking at our schedule, I will tell you no lie. I gave you my prediction earlier, and we don't have to discuss that. But I will tell you something. When Howard Snellenberger got us in the right direction, he shocked a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this Miami team, there will be some, oh my goodness, we let them off the hook moments.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like this team is a team to basically shock some people to where it's like, wow, I can't believe Miami won that game.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, you will have to tune in every week because it's going to be an adventure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely. I agree with that. I mean, I'm telling you, I definitely looking forward for this season. This is probably the most anticipated I have been for pro football and college football because where both of my teams are at this moment right now. So, and I'm telling you, like I told Alex, I'm going to that Miami Texas A&M game. I'm going to be there locked and loaded.
All right. So are you flying down to that one or are you driving?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to drive. I think I'm going to fly. I just can't see myself driving. That is too far from. Well, actually, I'm about to drive this weekend to Virginia. That's 7.5 hours. So, but I mean, if I want to do a road trip, I'll drive. You know what I'm saying? I might end up driving. I don't know. I might drive.
Well, can I give you a pro tip?
Yeah.
If you fly to Greenville, it's cheaper, and they go nonstop to Miami.
Well, I think then that might be the approach I might need to make because I think so. I want to fly. I haven't flown in a long time, so I haven't since I've been on the West Coast. So definitely, I think I'm gonna fly to this. So definitely, I might do the fly. Let my legs relax a little bit. So, but anyway, bro, we do this every Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Canes on a daily. You never know who I might have on the show. Y'all gotta stay tuned in, baby. Stay tuned in. Season 2 is about to be fire. If you was around for season 1 and you know how we did this, man, just wait. Season 2, and definitely check out my YouTube channel for any Canes video that I might drop dealing with recruiting or any basic news. And then, we chop it on Tuesday at 8 o'clock, Canes on the daily. It's just following up all kind of with every news. But until then, I'm your host, Martin, Livewire Sports Entertainment. Shout out to all players, all sports for plugging me in. And my man Donnie for always here, holding me down as my co-host. So, like I said, football season is here. College or pro, no matter who you like, rep your team well because it is going to be fire. Until then, y'all have a good night.